conference. I went to this conference last year and I did vlog it. I'll put the link here in the cards. I am a little late, but I think it should be fine, and I'll see you guys once I get there. Got my schedule. I already selected the sessions I'm most interested in. There are a lot of good options. I'm gonna have to turn off now because I think the thing's about to start. Sorry, I didn't get to film much because it was intense. Basically, we had a panel. No, wait. What happened? First, we had a panel with all the authors. A bunch of published authors were in this panel and gave some advice. The ones that stuck with me the most is you have to understand this is a long-term journey. It really takes a long time, a ridiculous long time sometimes. One of the people there mentioned that she worked on her novel for 15 years. Another tip that they gave is that you need to have critique partners, and I so much agree with that. And I see a lot of times people asking like, where can you get critique partners? Well, at conferences like this, I met two of my critique partners at a conference like this, and we're still together. Introduce yourself to people, ask them what they're writing. It's really easy to approach people. Everybody likes the things you like.
Well, I always love reconnecting with friends and meeting other writers and agents and editors, and just the lovely tidbits that you pick up in the workshops.
The speakers were amazing. Peter Knapp, Molly Idle, everyone had something very intelligent and soulful to offer.
Well, the speakers that have been brought in have been really thoughtful in their answers.
What I've noticed this time especially is that I get some good ideas for storytelling in general, for writing in general, but then I flip to the back of my notebook and scribble some notes about what I'm working on right now.
It's really re-energized my wanting to get back home and sit at my desk and retackle my project.
We had a keynote with William. He's an author. He's really funny. He mainly talked about patterns and rhythm. Talked about a pattern that's called the ring pattern. Descend to the heart of the story and then come back. He gave us an example where the wild things are. Try saying that 3 times fast. The character, he goes home to where all things are, and then he goes back home, and of course he comes back home changed. And you see that pattern repeated over and over again. And he also talked about the bookends pattern, which is very similar. The only difference is that whatever you have in the beginning, you repeat at the end. Even sometimes you use the same imagery. One that I remember really well is Gone Girl, the movie. Starts with an image and ends with a very similar image, but you have a completely different understanding at the point you reach the end. You write your draft and then you go back, and as you revise, you identify those patterns. So can you talk a little about like how you identify those patterns in your novel?
I notice repetition, all kinds of repetition. Repetitions of phrase, repetitions of ideas.
Of images, maybe.
Images, characters that keep coming back when I don't expect them to, settings that we keep coming back to. The repetition that happens by accident, looking back, I try and make it intentional. I try to add some intentional rhythm and some important thematic echoes if I spot them. It's just a matter of noticing what's there and then making it deliberate rather than flailingly accidental.
We have some cliche patterns like the story of a hero, like Rock Balboa who fights and then wins at the end. And so how can you break those those cultural patterns and make things interesting?
Well, first you have to notice them. So you have to read a lot. There's an incredible book of cliches by Diana Wynne Jones called The Tough Guide to Fantasyland. She imagined that every really cliche fantasy novel is set in the same place and wrote like a backpacker's travel guidebook to that place.
Okay.
And so it's an alphabetized list of cliches. You've got to notice the patterns and question them. Readers will expect them on some level. And reader expectations are not bad. When you write the book, especially the very beginning, you're telling the reader what kind of story to expect. You don't want to cheat them. You're making an agreement. If you're going to surprise, if you're going to swap something out of those expectations, you want to deliver something of equal value. You want, I'm not going to give you exactly what you thought I was here, but you're going to get this instead.
Do you have any example that comes to mind of a movie or a book, something that broke your expectations and it worked?
Or we were just talking about Patrick Rothfuss's Name of the Wind, and in many ways it's set up. I mean, it is another massive pseudo-medieval fantasy novel, hero's journey type story, and it's comforting that that's like okay, that's what it seems to be. There's lots of ways that it isn't. Okay. There's lots of ways that it resists being that. As much as it plays to those expectations, it also refuses to play to them and subverts them in some really important ways, I think so.
I went to a lecture with Peter Knapp. He's an agent. He talked about how he writes like a love letter to his clients after, he read the novel and everything. He talks about all the good things about the novel, and he suggests for you as a writer to do the same, which I have done before, and I also recommend that. Not only helps you remember what you love about your novel, but also helps you have a better understanding of your novel. So I like to write the first draft, and then I write this love letter just to keep things into perspective, just so I have a clear image of what I want for the novel. He did something wonderful, and I love when people do that, is that he used his client as an example. He took her first 2 pages and analyzed it with us and showed us like the parts that he liked, and he basically used that to show imagery and how imagery can do so much for you. Instead of saying that the character is, sad because she lost her mom, for instance, you can have her washing her mom's shirt and knowing that afterwards that shirt's no longer gonna smell like her mom. It's like those small little details that you have to be very smart about. Things he talked about how you shouldn't use a calendar to actually place your scene, so you have more a better understanding and control what's happening when. And he gives so many like small tips like that that are helpful to make sure your story is flowing well and it's working well, and how to increase tension. It was wonderful, but I cannot talk about everything. Right now I need to eat because it's lunch break and we only have an hour. So I'm going to show you my food. Another lecture is about to start. I'm here at Nikki's lecture, and this was one of the best lectures today.
I love going to Nikki Loftin's.
I think Nikki Loftin did a wonderful presentation about setting and how you can write a setting-driven novel.
We talked so much about character-driven novels and plot-driven novels, when in reality we also have setting-driven novels, and her novel, The Wish Girl, is good example of that. And she talked about like Harry Potter. When we think about Harry Potter, yes, you want to hang out with Harry and Hermione, but at the end of the day, what you really want, you want to go to Hogwarts. That's what really sticks with you. Setting is extremely important, and sometimes people don't pay as much attention to that. And she mentioned how you need to think about the big items, like if you're describing, the mountains, but you also have to think about the little detail. A necklace, of course it has to have meaning, cannot be something random, and just that helps color your story and bring that setting to life. So don't focus just on the big things. And then she mentioned the setting can be used as a mirror, as a metaphor, and she gave us an example, the book Finding Paris, because it's set in LA, and LA is an interesting place because you have all that glitter, but there is something rotten underneath. The characters are going through kind of mirrors that, so it's good to use your setting to help the themes of your novel resonate. I went to a lecture about editorial letters with Claudia, and basically she said that it's a good idea to, when you're revising, to revise it through phases. So first revising, looking for analyzing plot, and then you go back and revise analyzing character, and so on and so forth. You should take piece by piece. And then she also said that it's a good idea to read your work out loud, because then you really hear your sentences. She actually gave us a whole list of things that she looks at from an editor's perspective, and I wrote a couple of them down. Are the characters discovering things in the scene rather than being told? Do the characters' actions track with their established personalities? Are the characters' personas being revealed through dialogue? and things like that. She just gave a lot of points for us to check. She gave us actually handouts.
There's a lot of information here to absorb, and to have something to take home with you is fantastic. I learned what an editor looks at when they're reviewing a piece of work, how much work goes in on their side. So it's always good to understand what all of your partners are thinking and doing in order to help bring your piece to the world.
And then the last one was the keynote with Peter Knapp. He basically said that novels should pose questions, not answers, and that the reason why people like novels is because they speak the emotional language. You understand what anger is, you understand what guilty is, you understand what happiness is. So that's how we connect to novels. And she also spoke about the courage of taking that leap and writing the novel and taking chances and risks with it. And I'll have to end this here because I really have to run and go have dinner. So goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow, or maybe I'll see you at the restaurant. We'll see. Okay, bye.